lights and darks. Lovely, yummy contrast. That's what we're going to be talking about today. How to add some contrast to our pages by using the elements of dark and light. Welcome in to day 13 of Dreamers into Doers 2020. I'm Rebecca, and I want to teach you a little bit today about art and design principles. I have some secrets and tips and tricks and hacks to get you to add contrast to your pages. So, as a principle of art, contrast refers to the arrangement of opposite elements and effects. For example, light and dark, as we're going to talk about today. Contrast can be used to create variety and visual interest and even drama in your artwork. Altered art and collage artwork, it's a very busy medium. So it is critical to ensure that the subject of your page or your canvas stands out from the background. And here is a really good example of that. Art is all about choices, isn't it? Our first choice is to decide whether the subject will be lighter or darker than the background. And once that decision is made, you work accordingly. And so today I want to add some light and dark to the pages that we have done before and to the other elements that we have done. And I have a few favorite ways to do that. One of them is mark making, like we did before. We made some dark elements on our journaling cards. We also, very early on, did what I call mark making with a black pen against this fairly light background. Second favorite way is by rubber stamping. I love to use the dark, if my pages are light, dark rubber stamping ink, or if my pages are dark, I can use a lighter ink. Sometimes that works beautifully. And the third way is by adding text, whether it's handwritten, calligraphy or lettering, or whether it is stenciled or stamped. So stencils, I forgot to mention, stencils and stamping I call the first way. Text is the second way, and the third way is mark making. We've done the mark making, so we're just going to concentrate on doing some stenciling today and doing some stamping to get some contrast on there. And as you see, these pages take a while to develop, absolutely. And although you can do it if you stick to it more than 20 minutes a day that we are doing around here, you can develop a whole page or two or a spread even in one day beautifully. So, but sometimes I have 2 or 3 books or 2 or 3 pieces of art going at the same time so that I can just make sure that things can dry in between. So what I'm doing right now is tearing off pieces of this blue painter's tape, and I am putting it on my jacket. I'm just taping it to my jacket. Let me see if I can show you this. Or my shirt, whatever. I just tape it on there, rub it down, and pull it off. And that gives a really good amount of stickiness to the tape, because sometimes it still is a little too sticky. So I don't want that totally straight on my page, I don't think. So I am going to tape these, and I am also going to stick this card right under there because I'm going to give some contrast to this card as well. So 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak. So I'm going to get 2 things done with one process. That's always great, isn't it? So again, remember, always shake your paints up. And I am using for this one a navy blue. It's one of my very favorite colors by Folk Art. And I should mention that I am a folk art ambassador, so you will always see me using a lot of their items, and they're very nice to me and provide me a lot of things to play with. So that's my disclosure part. So when you're stenciling, just dip your stencil brush straight down into the paint and then rub it on your palette a few times. And that works the paint up into the bristles and spreads it out evenly. And a lot of people miss this step. I see a lot of people out there today that are doing a lot of stenciling and they just go straight from the puddle of the paint into the stencil. And that not only can get you things to seep under your stencils and it won't be a crisp stencil, but it also can make your stencils very hard to clean. So anyway, I'm just going to come in here and tap this in. But there's two methods of stenciling, tapping and swirling. And they give you very different looks. And I tend to tap initially to just make sure that I've got a good amount of paint removed from my brush, because that keeps it from going under a little bit easier. And then you can come in and swirl. So I'm going to swirl on our card. And let me make sure that this is still in camera. Swirling on our card and dabbing on our page. And hopefully you'll be able to see the difference. Okay, I think we're pretty good. And always with stenciling, you want to make sure you keep it down and just peel it back carefully. And if you've gotten everything you want, if you didn't, you can lay it back down without moving it, or you can go ahead and take it off. So there is our nice little stencil. Whoops. See, even though I put that against my jacket, it still tore a piece of my page paint off of there. But that's okay. That is absolutely okay. We're going to go with that. That made a pretty nice mark, I think. So I kind of want to show you as closely as I can get the difference between where I tapped it in. See, there's a lot of texture in there where the tapping part is. And see how much smoother and more refined it looks like if you're doing the swirl method. Does that make sense? I hope so. We have a nice little break place in our page that we can cut and add a pocket, or we can tape something over or do something else in this area. But anyway, that's pretty high contrast on those pages, right? And fairly high contrast on this. Now this, absolutely, these pages will be very high contrast because they're fairly light to begin with. So, and I have to tell you, I'm probably the world's worst rubber stamper. So I can do a lot of other art forms, but I kind of tend to make a mess with rubber stamping. So I'm hoping to progress and get better as the year progresses. So again, I like text. So I'm just going to come up here in this area. And I don't always like to put straight. So I'm just going to go a little sideways. I'm going to push down on it. Try not to rock it. That's one of my favorite things to do, is rock it. And that's where I get in trouble. So that's pretty good. I'm going to come out here and just keep stamping with this in a few places until I work a lot of that ink off of my stamp. And it gets more faded and more faded and more faded. And I usually like to keep a bucket of water or something beside me when I'm stamping and stenciling, so I can drop these in and drop my stencils as well. I forgot that today, but that way it helps keep those clean. We're not going to be on here so long today that I have to worry about that. I will be able to clean those, but for now I usually am better than that. And as you can see here, at some point in time, I didn't clean this at all. Good heavens, Rebecca. So I'm going to come down and do this here. And again, I'll tell you, I'm not the greatest stamper in the world. You will want to go ahead and add some more of these elements throughout your book. You don't want, you want repeating elements throughout your book. So just on a few different pages, I'm going to come in and maybe I'm going to guard that envelope we put the other day and put this up here. And I think my pages must be a little wonky, and that's what's going on. Then I'm getting some areas that are not making contact with my page in any way, shape, or form. But anyway, I think you get the idea of what I'm doing here. And I told you, not the greatest rubber stamper in the world, but I try. I absolutely try. Whoops. And that kind of made a cute thing. Oops, that was a mistake by all means, but it dropped the ink pad right on there, and look at that. That gave me a place for, I might make a window or a frame for something. So I love that. So I'm going to come in and just stamp across there. And there I rocked. Stop rocking, Rebecca. Adding a few other little places. So keep this going today for your 20 minutes. Just do some stamping and some stenciling and have fun. Have fun with what you're doing. And I will see you back here tomorrow when we will make some kind of mess yet again in our studios for our Dreamers into Doers and our Contagious Creativity activities. So anyway, this is Rebecca. May joy be with you all.